And we are live for Thanksgiving football. It is my favorite day of the year. We got football, we got family, we got food. It's the best day of the year, if you ask me. One of my personal favorite holidays, if not my favorite. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thankful for everybody that tunes into this live stream, whether you tune in for the first time, whether you're tuning in for the 100th time, whether you tune in for a minute or an hour. Seriously, thank you to everybody tuned in. Thankful for everybody that makes this a reality for me. We are live on TikTok. We are live on YouTube. Let me turn off sub only chat on TikTok. We got a great slate of games here today, guys. We have kicking off in just 2 hours the Green Bay Packers playing the Detroit Lions. Let me pull up the spreads here. We got 3 probable blowout games. I think at least 2 of these games will not be close, likely all 3. We got the Lions are 8-point favorites at home today against the Packers. The Packers do not match up well with the Lions. This is going to be a beatdown by the Detroit Lions. Hopefully the Packers offense can keep it close, but the Lions are going to win this game. They're 8-point favorites. I think they probably cover that 8-point spread. And then the second game today, we got the Dallas Cowboys with an absolute one of the easiest matchups you could have. I'd argue the Commanders have the worst defense in the NFL. Tommy DeVito, guys, just tossed 250 yards, 2 TDs, over 20 fantasy points for Tommy DeVito last week against the Commanders. Now the Commanders get the red-hot Dallas Cowboys. This spread actually has moved closer, bigger, larger in favor of the Cowboys. They're minus 13.5. They probably cover that spread. Dak Prescott probably having a 300-yard passing day, multiple passing touchdowns. He is one of the safest bets of the day. And then tonight, we get the 49ers playing against the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks are 7-point underdogs at home against the 49ers. Another matchup here where you got to be worried for how the Seahawks match up against the 49ers. The free player prop of the day actually comes in that night game. Talk about that one momentarily. I will get to some of the start sits, of course. But let me just run through high level how I'm feeling today. And the guys I think you need to start and the guys you really need to try to find other options around. You got to start Dak Prescott for sure. If I pull up the QB ranks here on the TikTok, on the YouTube live, Dak Prescott ranks number QB4 in the Walter Picks app this week. I think there's an argument for him to be as high as QB2. And Lamar has a good matchup against the Chargers. He's without Mark Andrews, though. I'm not sure how much exactly that's getting priced in here. If we just compare him to Lamar, Lamar's definitely I would play Lamar over him. I'd play Hurts over him, and I'd probably still play Mahomes over Dak. But honestly, I think there's an argument between Mahomes and Dak. This is, again, the best possible matchup for a passing attack is up against it being up against the Washington Commanders. So you got to start Dak with a lot of confidence. And yeah, he's QB5 in points per game this season. He's averaging over 2 touchdowns a game, and now he gets the Commanders. And the Cowboys repeatedly have shown they are willing to continue throwing the ball at a very high rate, even when they're in blowout games, even when they're winning. You got to hope Dak is at least out there in the fourth quarter, but Sam Howell does have enough juice, I think, to keep Dak Prescott at least on the field. It's certainly possible he's not out there in the fourth quarter, but if that happens, which it has happened for Dak, I think it happened as recently as last week, Dak still had 16 fantasy points last week, QB 17. Before that, he was a top 3 quarterback for 4 consecutive games. I think we see something more along those lines for Dak today. I do like Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, definitely not as much as Dak. But yeah, I'm only starting Jalen Hurts and Lamar over Dak, Josh Allen as well. I wouldn't start Mahomes even over Dak Prescott. I would start Joshua Dobbs, Justin Fields, Kyler Murray over all the other quarterbacks playing today. I don't think that is that unreasonable. Sorry for the YouTube live, just fixing the phone there. Brock Purdy, I would start over guys like Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Sam Howell, though. Sam Howell's an okay start. Don't love him this week against the Cowboys. I think he can be started. I do like him more than Jared Goff, actually. Actually, I think I would probably go Goff over Howell, personally. But Goff is more of a fringe start than a must start. Brock Purdy, I would start over Jared Goff today. Debo or Puka Nacua. Yeah, you probably have to go Puka there. I think Debo's a good start, but not better than Puka. Brock or CJ this week. Yeah, got to go Stroud. Stroud's QB5 in the Walter Picks app this week. He's top 5 option this week. All right, let's get to some of these start sits in the comments. Just broke down all my thoughts about the games. We're going to see some blowout games today, guys. Some absolute blowout games. At least an 8-point spread, at least a 7.5-point spread on all of these games. 7-point spread, I think, actually, for the Seahawks 49ers game. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Seriously, all right, let's get to some of these comments. Happy Thanksgiving. Pick 3. But we got to go at least one receiver. Deontay Johnson, Zay Flowers, Marquise Brown, Charbonnet, James Conner, Ramondre Stevenson. Guys, Zach Charbonnet is a good play today. He is a good high-volume play today. Charbonnet is going to see his highest usage of his career today. There is no Kenneth Walker in the lineup. You look at the game logs for Charbonnet. This is actually, I'm glad this was a Charbonnet question because I have some Charbonnet stuff prepared here. And he's running elite usage out of the backfield in terms of his receiving role. Guys, he's run a route on over half of the dropbacks for the Seahawks, over half the passing plays. Zach Charbonnet is out there running a route for 4 straight games. He set a season high, career high, 83%. 83% of the dropbacks last week for the Seahawks. Charbonnet was running a route. He had 6 targets, 6 receptions in that game. 5 targets, 4 receptions in the game before. PPR-wise, Charbonnet has a high floor, high ceiling, even in a relatively difficult matchup. I do like Charbonnet today over a lot of options. He's RB13 in the Walter Picks app. I agree with this ranking. I would even maybe go a little bit even more aggressive. I don't think I'd start him over David Montgomery, Pacheco. Maybe this actually is a reasonable ranking. I would start Charbonnet over Josh Jacobs, over Ramondre Stevenson. So, yeah, I think you got to go Charbonnet. James Conner, too, is definitely an elite play this week. I think I probably would go – let's compare these two, Ramondre Stevenson and James Conner. Ramondre does have a good matchup this week against the Giants. So, yeah, I think I'd probably play those two running backs. And then on the receiver side here, I think you go Zay Flowers against the Chargers. Odell's banged up, too. There's a chance Odell doesn't even play this week. Marquise Brown I still like as a buy low, and I think has a higher ceiling than people realize, but he's not a must start by any means. DK or Flowers. Yeah, you got to go DK Metcalf. I'm starting DK Metcalf in basically all spots today. I am not that worried about him not practicing. I do think DK Metcalf against the 49ers, the Seahawks are 7-point underdogs in this game. They're going to have to throw. I'm not that concerned about the Geno injury either. DK Metcalf has slate-breaking potential, week-breaking potential. I think he's got to be played. He definitely can go over 100 receiving yards today. That is his ceiling. I do like Zay Flowers again against the Chargers. It's a good matchup there, but in general, Kupp or Charbonnet, yeah. I'm like 60-40 that Kupp plays this week. So I might lean Charbonnet. It depends how you're feeling if Cooper Kupp's even going to play. Thanks for the gifts in the TikTok live. Appreciate that. What's up, Sam? Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Kyle. Thankful for you, man. Just wanted to stop in, wish you a great holiday, enjoy some good food, and to hear the prop, of course. So let me talk about the props. I'll talk about a prop in each game, but my favorite player prop today for sure is Zach Charbonnet over 3.5 receptions. We just looked at some of those game logs on the TikTok live. Let me make sure pull the Charbonnet game log here on the YouTube live again. But the receiving role for Charbonnet, I think, is more elite than the sportsbooks are realizing here with this line. 3.5 receptions. He's cleared this in both the last 2 games, both of which Kenneth Walker played in. Guys, Kenneth Walker got hurt, I think, in the second quarter last week. Charbonnet is maybe going to see close to 100% snap percentage, 80% snap percentage, maybe in this game. He got to 86% last week. 80% is a very realistic snap percentage for him this week. He's seen an elite receiving role for 4 straight games, really elite the last 2 games. Guys, he could get 6 receptions like that in this game. A lot of dump offs. Even if the Geno Smith injury, if you're concerned about that, this actually might help this prop with a lot of checkdowns from Geno. Again, the Seahawks are 7-point underdogs in this game, too. They will be playing from behind. Rachaad White had 6 receptions last week against the 49ers. So you got to start Zach Charbonnet today, and I like his receiving prop line a lot. Over 3.5 receptions is the free player prop of the day. We are 19-7. Luke Musgrave was a yard away from cashing the receiving yards last week, but the reception line cashed easily for Musgrave. He's actually on IR now, too. He battled through an injury in that game to cash the prop. But, yeah, that's the free player prop of the day. Let's go game by game, though. I will do that here and give you a prop I like in each game. Charbonnet is the one I like the most in the night game. Again, we have this game kicking off in just a couple hours here between the Lions and the Packers. I really do like Gibbs and Monty, both of them today a lot. Their lines are pretty high. I think 75 total yards between the two of them. I like Monty's touchdown prop a lot. I would probably lean that way in the Lions game. I also don't hate the Jameson Williams reception under in that game either. I think it's right at 2.5. He's been at 2 for almost every game this season. His snap percentage actually did go up a bit. I think if you're playing in tournaments today on DraftKings, Jameson Williams is interesting. I don't hate his under receptions line, but he did see a larger snap percentage than I expected last week. 66% of the snap share. I think that was his most of his career. It seems like they still want Jameson Williams to be a thing, despite trading for Donovan Peoples-Jones. He caught a touchdown. He does not have a game with more than 2 receptions, though, this season. And that's where his reception line is at. His catch rate's like right around 50%. He's only catching half of his targets. And then in the game after that,
between the Cowboys and the Commanders, I'd probably take the CeeDee Lamb receptions line or the CeeDee Lamb receiving yards line. I do expect a huge day from CeeDee Lamb. I would be taking Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb props exclusively. Again, I think those two guys are probably the highest upside, highest floor guys on the whole slate against the Commanders. The Commanders have the worst secondary in the NFL, and they're playing one of the most red-hot passing offenses in the league. All right, let's get back to some of these start-sits. Pick 2 to start, A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel, Tank Dell. Yeah, you got to bench Deebo here. You got to play Tank Dell over Deebo Samuel. And guys, there's no benching A.J. Brown. I'm not doing it. I don't care if he has 0 points again this week. I won't be benching him the following week. A.J. Brown, despite only having 1 catch this past game, is still having one of the best receiving seasons of all time. Just to put it into perspective, despite basically a 0-yard game from him last game. So you got to start A.J. Brown over Deebo. You got to start A.J. Brown over Tank Dell too. But I would go Tank over Deebo Samuel. Deebo or Pacheco. This one's close. I do like Pacheco a lot against the Raiders this week. He's ranking pretty high in the Walter Picks app this week as well, which makes sense. I do like the spot for Deebo and Ayuk. I'm happy to start either of them. But yeah, you got to go Pacheco over Deebo here. The Raiders have not been good against the run. Pacheco was one of the few explosive players for the Chiefs offense in their last game. I was pretty impressed and surprised by the running game usage and the success of the running game against the Eagles for the Chiefs. The Eagles have, I think, the best defensive line in the NFL. Really was one of the best rushing performances we've seen against the Eagles this season. Now they get a matchup against the Raiders where they're favored. I think we see similar type of usage for Pacheco. It was, I think, his highest rush share maybe of the season. He had 19 carries. He had 20 carries back in week 4. But yeah, you got to go Pacheco. Pacheco's an elite option. I'm playing Charbonnet over Addison. Charbonnet versus Nico Collins, I actually think is pretty close. I think Nico Collins is really getting slept on. Nico Collins had 10 targets last week. Tank Dell is getting all the hype. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Nico Collins outscored Tank Dell any given week, including this week. It's really one game, a couple games, we've seen Tank Dell be the guy for the Texans. I think I probably would start Tank over Nico. I just think it's closer than people likely realize. All right, then we're going to do Charbonnet here because I do think Charbonnet's a really elite option. And yeah, Tank Dell, I would start over Zach Charbonnet. Nico Collins, I think in PPR leagues, it's okay to start him over Charbonnet too. We could see a shootout game here between the Texans and the Jaguars. You want pieces of this passing offense. I like both of them this week a lot. I think Nico's being slept on just in general. I do like Charbonnet a lot too. It's close. I would argue Charbonnet's floor is probably a little bit higher than Nico. But guys, Nico comes back. He missed a game with an injury. He comes back. He sees 11 targets. Excuse me, I said 10. 11 targets, 29% target share last week. And all anyone can talk about is Tank Dell, Tank Dell, Tank Dell. And I'm excited about him too. But yeah, Nico Collins is a very similar option to Tank Dell right now in fantasy with how good CJ Stroud is playing. So yeah, look at the floor here. Range of outcomes is much wider for Tank and Nico. The ceilings are much higher than for Charbonnet. This is also a little misleading just because Charbonnet, this is his first time in a full down role with Kenneth Walker out. Another guy out today, and I haven't seen any questions about him yet, but I'm sure I will, is Aaron Jones. A.J. Dillon is definitely a good option with Aaron Jones out. Usage-wise, I definitely worry about him efficiency-wise, though. Let me pull this back up here on the YouTube live. We're live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube, guys. Smash the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Let me run through the games again one more time. I'm thankful for everyone in this live stream. As always, guys, the best way you can possibly support me, check out the Walter Picks app. It is free. It is in the YouTube description. It is in the TikTok bio. If you use code SAM, if you're signing up for the first time, you'll get a 7-day free trial to all of the features in the app. League Sync, a Bet Sync for bet tracking. We got player prop insights. Everything you need for fantasy and betting is in the app. Definitely check it out. I do appreciate that. All right. Sam Laporta or Garrett Wilson at flex. Yeah, Garrett Wilson, I feel like is another one of these guys going down with the chip this season. Guys, Garrett Wilson leads the NFL in target share. There's no wide receiver targeted at a higher percentage of their team targets than Garrett Wilson. But Tim Boyle, I want nothing to do with that. Honestly, I think I would probably still go Garrett Wilson over Sam Laporta because I hate starting 2 tight ends, but it's a close one there. And I think Sam Laporta is a fine start today. Charbonnet or Hall. Yeah, I would play Zach Charbonnet over Breece Hall with Tim Boyle starting. I would play Charbonnet over Keaton Mitchell for sure. Seeing that one in the TikTok Live. TikTok Live subscribers, I will promise to get to your comments as always. All right, let's get to some more of these comments. Hey, Sam, would you wait for Jefferson news or start Jaden Reed or Jameson Williams in his place? Oh, man. Yeah, I don't think I would start Jameson Williams in his place. I don't think I'd start Jaden Reed in his place either. It does seem like Jefferson is fully healthy, but it also seems like there's a good chance he doesn't play. It's a tough spot here, yeah, with all the Thursday games. So yeah, I think I would wait here. Just the ceiling's just not comparable with these guys. I think in this type of spot, I'm okay risking it and hoping for somebody. You probably can get someone on the waiver wire not too different than Jaden Reed and Jameson Williams. Jenna, how's it going? Happy Thanksgiving. Pick 2, Zach Charbonnet, Kyron Williams, James Conner, Bijan Robinson. It's the first 2, I think, over Conner and Bijan. Bijan's a tough one this week because he's coming off one of his best games of the season, but he doesn't have a great matchup this week. Yeah, he's down at RB19. We got Charbonnet up here at RB13. Kyron Williams up at RB7. You got to start Kyron Williams this week for sure. Yeah, it's Kyron and it's Charbonnet with their roles, their projected roles. Stroud or Dobbs, you got to go Stroud there. Goff or Lawrence? Yeah, I would play Goff over Lawrence for sure. Lawrence is coming off his best game of the season by far. His first game over 20 fantasy points, though. I'm not so quick to be all in again on Trevor Lawrence like immediately. I would like to see a couple in a row here from Trevor Lawrence. All right, flex 1, Tank, Curran, and Kirk. Yeah, Curran and Tank, man, this is close. I think you probably go Curran. I'm in on Curran Williams for sure in his first game back. I don't think this is as risky of a spot as it was, for example, in Devon Achane's return. Let me pull up Tank Dell. He's wide receiver 12, though. Man, it's tough to bench Tank Dell right now. Oh, God, it's Tank over Corinne. It's close, man. Look at these graphs. It's very close. And the usage for Corinne Williams before he got hurt, guys, let's just bring us down memory lane for a second because we haven't seen Corinne Williams since week 6. It's week 12. It's been a month and a half since we saw Corinne Williams. He scored 6 touchdowns in 6 games. He barely came off the field with multiple games over an 85% snap share, which you do not see from many running backs. He actually had 2 games where he had a 99% and 100% snap shares. Rice Freeman, I do think now that he's around, he will still be involved and maybe vulture even some goal line carries from Corinne. But the target usage, the target role and the receiving role has also been really good with 2 games over 15% target share. So, yeah, I'm starting Corinne Williams in a lot of spots, but, yeah, I'm not starting over Tank Dell. Laporta or McBride? Yeah, I think I would go McBride over Laporta. Back-to-back down games for Laporta. I still think the floor is pretty high for him, but the usage and the role for McBride, guys, is very, very, very much elite. Look at this receiving role for McBride since Ertz went down. 14 targets, 5 targets, 9 targets, 7 targets, over a 24% target share at least in 4 straight games. And he's not coming off the field. 100% snap share for McBride last week. I mean, a really elite role. He's out there running around on every single drop back for the Cardinals. He's one of their best receiving weapons. I'm really not starting very many guys over McBride. I think it makes sense to consider Kittle over him with the ceiling there. I would start Hawkinson and Kelsey over him. But, yeah, I'm starting McBride over Kincaid. I agree with this in the Walter Picks app. I would start over Laporta this week. I do think Njoku, Kincaid, McBride, Kittle all make sense over Laporta. But that's it. I'm starting Laporta over Ingram, over Kmet, over Schultz, over Ferguson. Lockett or Brian Robinson, happy PR. Yeah, I think I'd probably go Lockett there. It's unclear. One pieces of news we're waiting on is Antonio Gibson and whether or not he's going to play. That does impact Brian Robinson a ton. We saw a huge receiving role for B-Rob last week. I would start B-Rob over Singletary with Damian Pierce back. Singletary is not startable. I would start Brian Robinson over Douglas, over Madison, over Mitchell. Jesse, thanks for doing the TikTok live subscription, by the way. All right. Yeah, I would play Kincaid over Laporta this week. I do think that is reasonable. Kincaid has had a really elite role, and I expect a pretty big passing day from Josh Allen this week too. Let me pull up the wide receiver rankings here. CeeDee Lamb ranking as wide receiver 1 this week against the Commanders. I think that makes a lot of sense. Tank, Waddle, or Pittman. Yeah, I'm not benching Pittman this week. Absolutely no benching Pittman. I don't think there's very many receivers I'm going to bench Pittman for. Let me show you guys the ranking here in the Walter Picks app. It's definitely really high. Michael Pittman comes in at wide receiver 10. I would probably play him over Adam Thielen too. And this also includes Justin Jefferson playing. Michael Pittman's role is just too elite and a good spot here against the Bucs. A pass funnel Bucs defense. Look at all this green for Michael Pittman. He's got 8 catches in 3 straight games. You go back to a five game window. He's had at least 8 catches in 4 of his last 5 games. And now he gets the pass funnel Bucs defense, arguably the best matchup of the season here for Michael Pittman. So, yeah, you got to start Michael Pittman. His floor is too high. And I don't think we've seen sort of the ceiling game from Pittman yet either. Garrett Wilson or Olave. Yeah, I'm going Olave or Garrett Wilson with Tim Boyle starting. No thank you, guys, to Tim Boyle. I do not think Tim Boyle is going to be good at all. DK Metcalf, Thielen, or Bijan in the flex PPR. Yeah, it's Thielen for sure over DK. I would go DK over Bijan, though. I do like DK Metcalf a decent amount today. I think his prop line is pretty reasonable at 57 or 58.5 today. I think that's a pretty strong one. Pick 3, full PPR, Ford, Connor, Mostert, Charbonnet, DK, Flowers. Please help. Happy Turkey Day, Sam. Yeah, guys, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I'm thankful for everyone in this live stream, anyone that's engaged with my content all season. Seriously, thankful for all of you. This is a dream come true to have this be a part of my every week, everyday job. I look forward to these lives all week. And Thanksgiving, guys, it's my favorite day of the year. It's everything I love about life. We have family, we have food, we have football, all in one day. It's truly, truly a special day, a great day. And I'm grateful and thankful for everybody here and just happy to be having another Thanksgiving day here. And we got 3 good games today, too. 3 potential blowout games where we see the Lions likely going to blow the lid off the Packers. I absolutely love Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. I think they're both top 10 running backs this week. They are both top 10 running backs in my mind rest of season. And the teams I have, which are 2 or 3 of my 7 high-stakes fantasy leagues, where I've stacked Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery together, those teams are all making the playoffs. Almost all my fantasy teams are making the playoffs this year. Jahmyr Gibbs is a big part of that. David Montgomery is a big part of that. They're 8-point favorites. I really think there's a chance they combine for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns in this game. So start both those guys for sure. I'm pretty out on the whole Packers offense, though I do hope Jordan Love can keep this game close so that we see a fun, high-scoring Lions game. The next game, though, is going to be the biggest blowout of the day. That's all the matchups today. The underdog matches up pretty horribly against the strengths of the favorite. The Lions are very good against the run. They're worse against the pass. The Packers are a run-first team at their heart. Jordan Love is definitely a pretty volatile starting quarterback across the league. Currently, I wonder if the Packers can keep up. I think they're probably the most likely, though, in all the underdogs to keep up today. The Cowboys play the Commanders. The Cowboys are 13.5-point favorites. They're probably going to win by more than that. One of the most red-hot passing offenses against the worst secondary in the NFL that was just shredded by Tommy DeVito and the New York Giants last week. I mean, the gap between the Cowboys offense and the Giants offense is astronomical. And then we have the 49ers, 7-point favorites on the road against Seattle tonight. And the Seahawks match up horribly with the 49ers. 49ers have a very good run defense. Seahawks are a run-first team at heart. But Charbonnet is going to be the lead back. Kenneth Walker is out. Aaron Jones is out also in the Packers game. But Kenneth Walker being out is why the free player prop of the day, it is Charbonnet over 3.5 receptions. He's hit this in 2 straight games. But not only that, this is from the player prop evaluator in the Walter Picks app if you're watching live on TikTok. But not only that, I'll pull up the Charbonnet game logs again because I really think this is a very high-value prop today. We are 19-7 on the free player props so far this season. I'll pull up the Charbonnet game logs behind me here on the YouTube live again. But this is my favorite player prop of the day personally. We've seen really elite receiving role usage from Charbonnet. He ran a route on 83% of the passing plays for the Seahawks last week. You don't see many running backs across the league get over 50%. That's something Charbonnet's done in 4 straight games now. He's got 10 catches in his last 2 games. They set this line at 3.5, and the Seahawks are 7-point underdogs. And Charbonnet also, going back to his college days, he's a rookie. And this is really the biggest usage day we're likely going to see from him, or something close to at least last week, where he played over 85% of the snaps. But Charbonnet, a second-round draft pick, was a 95th percentile receiving back in college. His target share was like 15, 16% in college. So he's always been a good receiving back. It's one of the areas he excels better than Kenneth Walker. So yeah, I like Charbonnet a lot today for fantasy. I like his player prop also over 3.5 receptions. That is the free player prop of the day. Happy Thanksgiving, Sam. Can you explain why Ayuk and Ferguson are a must start? Yeah, so Ferguson is more of a fringe start, I would say. I didn't make a fringe start list though, so he found his way into the must start list. And really, it's just this Cowboys passing offense is going to absolutely shred the Commanders secondary. He's tight end 11 in the Walter Picks app. I think that is pretty reasonable. I probably would start Ferguson over Schultz myself. I would probably start Kmet, Ingram, Laporte, everyone above over Ferguson. But yeah, I'm starting Jake Ferguson over guys like Taysom Hill, over guys like Kyle Pitts, over guys like Kade Otten, over guys like Isaiah Likely, Logan Thomas. So yeah, he's a start if you need one of these back end tight end ones this week. I do think his ceiling is pretty high against the Commanders. And Ayuk and the Bazooka guys, Brandon Ayuk leads the league in yards per reception. Just a really, really efficient receiver. He ranks wide receiver 25 here this week in the Walter Picks app. Right next to Deebo Samuel. I'm playing him over guys like Jalen Waddle, guys like Chris Godwin, Josh Downs. Ayuk is in a pretty good spot here against the Seahawks too, if the Seahawks can at least keep this game close. But yeah, Ayuk's coming off a 156-yard day. He was wide receiver 5 last week, almost 30 points the ceiling's just really high for Ayuk. I do like his ceiling a lot. And it does not seem like Debo being back is going to be a huge deal. Are we still waiting on Achane? Yeah, I don't think Achane's going to play this week, and I'm pretty nervous about Achane overall. TikTok Live, going to restart the TikTok Live really quick, having some Wi-Fi issues on my end. All right, let's get to some of these starts. It's David Montgomery over Jaylen Warren. Yeah, I think that's close. Let's actually do that comparison. I do think that's close with what's going on in Pittsburgh and how good Jaylen Warren's playing. The offensive coordinator change, you do got to expect that to help Jaylen Warren, not hurt Jaylen Warren. So let's do this comparison actually in the app. I lean towards, though, David Montgomery over Jaylen Warren with a good matchup for Monty and just really, really high touchdown potential. And yeah, it's Monty over Jaylen Warren for sure. PPR, it's probably a little bit closer. Jaylen Warren probably will have a better receiving role and better receiving day. But yeah, the Packers have not been great, guys, against running backs. I'll pull up some of these games that they've allowed to running backs this season. But the Packers are allowing some of the most points per game to running backs in fantasy. Just last week, Austin Eckler, 10 carries, 64 yards. Josh Kelly also had a pretty big game last week. Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren combined for almost 200 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Packers just 2 weeks ago. We saw Darrell Henderson, Royce Freeman do okay, not great actually, against them. But yeah, Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren doing well against Packers is a good sign. And yet the Lions just use the running backs at such an elite rate across the league. One of the best offensive lines, if not the best offensive line in the league. Walter Picks, need 2, PPR. Reed, Lockett, Ridley, Downs, PPR, Happy Turkey Day. Yeah, I'd probably go Lockett, 2 PPR. Wow. You need to. I thought it was 2 points per reception. I do like the matchup for Downs. Definitely you cannot start Reed here. It's Lockett, Ridley, Downs. Let's compare these 3 here in the app. Again, the best way you can support me is checking out the Walter Picks app, which is free in the TikTok bio, in the YouTube description. It's going to help you with all the questions that you're asking. All right, we don't want to do Reed. Let's get him out of here. Lockett. We got Downs in a good spot against the Bucs while he ranks higher than I expected. And then Ridley. Yeah, you bench Ridley here. And I know Ridley's coming off a huge game, a potential shootout with the Texans. But yeah, the floor and ceiling, I think, are higher for Downs and Lockett. You're absolutely starting Lockett. And yeah, you're not starting Reed. I would probably go Lockett and Downs, though, over Calvin Ridley. Charbonnet or Corinne? Yeah, I think I'm going Corinne over Charbonnet, just matchup-wise. I like that matchup better. But it is close. It absolutely is close. Jahmyr Gibbs ranks as RB3, only behind CMC and Eckler this week. Absolutely ridiculous stuff from Jahmyr Gibbs, who's been a top 5 running back for like 3 or 4 straight games now. Happy Thanksgiving, Eduardo. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody in this live. It is the best day of the year, guys. We have football, we have family, we have food. It's the best day. Pick 2, Thielen, Tank, or Singletary. Yeah, bench Singletary. Dameon Pierce is back, guys. Panic button on Singletary for sure. I do not want to start him anymore. The whole reason Singletary was a good start was he was playing 100% of the snaps and getting 100% of the backfield. That's just not going to be the case when Dameon Pierce comes back. I'm not as interested in him by any means with Dameon Pierce back. We're projecting him for only 40% of the carries this week for the Texans. Half PPR, Mixon, Montgomery, and Brian Robinson. Yeah, Montgomery needs to be started over Mixon and Brian Robinson. And then Mixon versus B-Rob is close. Mixon's coming off his best game of the season. I was pretty wrong about the role in the success of Joe Mixon in their last game. Obviously, that game was ridiculous against the Ravens with all the injuries. So all the analysis was thrown out the door pretty quickly in that game. And B-Rob's a tough call right now because we don't know if Antonio Gibson's playing or not yet. Let me actually see if we got any report about that. But that game's not till later in the day. So I don't think we're going to get it. Let me pull it up here. A.J. Dillon is expected to play. Antonio Gibson is a true game time decision with a toe injury. If he plays, I would play Mixon over him. If Antonio Gibson doesn't play, I probably would go Brian Robinson, though, over Joe Mixon. Either way, though, I'm starting David Montgomery, if that makes sense. So, yes, Monty over Mixon and Brian Robinson. If Antonio Gibson doesn't play, I'd go B-Rob over Mixon. If Antonio Gibson does play, I'd go Mixon over B-Rob. I do think it's close. And I think Antonio Gibson playing does matter a lot for Brian Robinson. All right. Hit the like button, guys. Hit the follow button if you're watching live on TikTok. If you're watching live on YouTube, guys, smash the like button. It takes you 2 seconds. I'm telling you, 2 seconds. I'm telling you, it helps me out way more than you realize. We're like halfway through the live, 30 minutes in. I got another 30 minutes to go. I'm going to get to all the start sits I possibly can. I got my must starts, my must benches up on the screen as well. I'm definitely most nervous for the Packers offense today in terms of the startable fantasy players. I'm also pretty nervous for Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. I would argue you should try to bench Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson if you can. One of them will probably have a good game, but guys, the Commanders spread the ball out so much. The Cowboys have been really, really good defensively against receivers this season. At least one of these guys is going to bust, and they both have a chance to bust. Last week, Keenan Allen had 10 catches, 116, but no other receiver did anything. The week before that, George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, they did absolutely nothing. Both under 50 yards, under 5 fantasy points, I think, each. Maybe Pickens actually had 7.5 points. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, they did nothing against the Cowboys. Jordan Addison had a good game. KJ Osborne did decent against them, but the floor is just so low for Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin on an offense that is not – they have one of the least consolidated target shares across the league. They're willing to throw De'Ami Brown the ball, Brian Robinson the ball, Logan Thomas, and some of their other tight ends the ball. They just spread it out too much. There's going to be 6, 7, 8 guys that catch a pass for the Commanders today. I do not like Dotson or McLaurin for that reason. They're not awful options if you got nothing else. I do think the ceiling is at least there. In a game they're going to get absolutely smoked, absolutely crushed. They're probably going to throw 65% of the plays here against the Cowboys. But yeah, the floor is just still so low for both those guys. Why Devonta over Ayuk? Yeah, guys, you got to be starting Devonta Smith. The Devonta Smith breakout, it's happening. I hope you bought low on Devonta while you could. For as long as Dallas Goedert is out, Devonta Smith is going to be an elite start. He saw a 38% target share last week. There are very few wide receivers that can get past a 30% target share. Very few. You can probably count them on 2 hands. Devonta Smith is one of those guys. So he has an extremely elite ceiling every week. He's got a matchup against the Bills, who have been okay against receivers this season, but also a potential shootout game here. It might rain a little bit in that game. I'm not actually that concerned, though, about the rain. And the Bills are one of these offenses that can keep pace, potentially, with the Eagles' offense. You got to be starting Devonta Smith for sure. The ceiling is just so elite. And any given week with Goddard out, we could see A.J. Brown type usage from Devonta Smith. And actually, if you go back in all the games Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown have played together, you'd be pretty surprised how close those stat lines actually are. A.J. Brown certainly has pulled away a bit this season, but yeah, Devonta Smith needs to be started for as long as Dallas Goedert is out. Schultz or Laporta? Yeah, I think I would go Laporta over Schultz. I know Laporta has struggled a bit of late. I think back-to-back down games for Laporta. Wouldn't be shocked to see him turn it around this week. Let me pull up the tight end rankings here. Yeah, I played Laporta over Ingram, over Kmet, over Schultz. I would play all these guys that Walter has ranked above Laporta over Laporta this week, but he's still an elite top 7 option here. He's had at least 5 targets in every single game but 1. There's still a really, really good role here for Laporta. He's had back-to-back games under 10 points. But really, he's had one of the highest floors among all tight ends. Last week was his worst game, and it was 6.8 points still, which is a pretty high floor for tight ends. I think I missed that question. I'll get back to that. DK over Puka. No, I'd probably play Puka over DK. I'm sorry if I missed that question. No turkey day for me. I'm Canadian, but who should I flex? Kupp if he plays, Mixon, Warren, Pacheco, and Kincaid, or I'm going Kincaid over Laporta. I do like that matchup for the Bills offense this week. And then I think you go Pacheco over all these guys in a good spot against the Raiders. Go with the elite offenses. I know the Chiefs have technically not been an elite offense, but Pacheco was the most efficient player on that offense last week. Good matchup for him against the Raiders. Kittle or Kincaid? Yeah, I'm going Kittle over Kincaid. I'm sorry, Evan, I got you. Pick 3, Stevenson, Charbonnet, Flowers, Dell, PPR. Yeah, so you got to start Tank Dell, and you got to start Charbonnet. So then it's between Flowers and Stevenson. I think that one's probably pretty close. My gut is to go with Flowers against the Chargers, especially if Odell doesn't play. Obviously, we don't know that yet over Ramondre Stevenson. But yeah, Mondre does have a good matchup here against the Giants also. I think I'd go Zay Flowers, though. If this is PPR, I'd rather bet on a potential really shootout game between the Ravens and the Chargers. The Chargers are the Ravens, as good as the Ravens defense is, the Chargers are one of the offenses that could score still against the Ravens and make this a shootout game. That would be good news for Zay Flowers. Plus, the chance that Odell doesn't play, I think, is enough for me to start Flowers over Mondre. Brees, Bijan, Charbonnet, or Corinne, half PPR. Yeah, so I'm starting Charbonnet and Corinne over Brees and Bijan. Feels weird to say that, but I do think Charbonnet over Brees, Charbonnet over Bijan makes sense this week. Let's do this here. Corinne, and we're going to grab, let's see who ranks higher, Brees or Bijan. I think they're 19 and 20. So Bijan actually ranks ahead of Brees. I'm definitely nervous overall for the Jets offense with Tim Boyle starting. And not good, guys, with Tim Boyle starting. Puka or JSN? I'm going Puka over JSN for sure. JSN an okay start, but not an amazing start today. Really, what's the real ceiling when he's playing behind Lockett and Metcalf? It's like 60 yards, 4 catches, and a touchdown. That's like probably best case scenario for JSN with both the receivers he's playing with. But yeah, Corinne Williams needs to be started. Good matchup for him against the Cardinals. They rank 30th against running backs this season, third worst team against running backs fantasy-wise this season. All right, let's get to some more of these start sits. Tad, good morning. Happy Thanksgiving, man. Full PPR start to Gibbs, Mostert, Downs. Yes, you got to start Gibbs. And Downs versus Mostert's tough. And Mostert is really projecting well because I don't think Achan's going to play. We got to see if Achan plays or not. If he does play, I think that is a knock on Mostert a bit. But, man, he's ranking as RB9. We currently have Achan projected as out. Downs does have a good matchup. It's Mostert. Yeah, you got to go Mostert over Downs. And also the Dolphins are huge favorites, 9.5-point favorites against the Jets and Tim Boyle. Kyler or Goff? Yeah, I probably would go Kyler over Goff. Kyler has looked good so far. Seeing a bunch of Laporta questions. Here's the tight ends I would start over Sam Laporta this week. Here's the tight ends. I agree with Walter on this one. And that's from the Walter Picks app. AI powered player projections. The best player projections you can find for fantasy, for betting in the Walter Picks app. It's free. It's in the TikTok bio. It's in the YouTube description. Use code SAM to get a 100% free 7-day trial to all the premium features. There's so much free stuff in the app too. I like these advanced game logs. I'll show you for Zach Charbonnet as an example. He's a free player prop of the day, but you can see advanced stats like route percentage and target share in the Walter Picks app game logs for free. This is completely free. And yeah, Charbonnet over 3.5 receptions is a lock today. That is the free player prop of the day. All right. I'm starting David Njoku over Sam Laporta, and Njoku seeing elite usage. 15 targets, guys, for David Njoku last week. He's at least a 20% target share now in 5 straight games. Now he gets the Broncos. And David Njoku is going to win fantasy leagues, guys. Look at the schedule down the stretch. Look at the usage and the production against really good defenses. For David Njoku, he has by far the easiest part of his schedule over his next 6 games. That's exactly what you want. League winning tight end here, David Njoku. I would start him over Sam Laporta against the Broncos. I would start Dalton Kincaid against the Eagles over Sam Laporta. I would start Trey McBride over Sam Laporta. He gets a matchup with the Rams. I'd start George Kittle today against the Seahawks over Sam Laporta. I would start Hockenson and Kelsey over him too. But I would start Sam Laporta over guys like Evan Ingram, over guys like Cole Kmet, over guys like Dalton Schultz, Jake Ferguson, Taysom Hill, Kyle Pitts. The list goes on and on from there. But yeah, he's a decent option, but not a top 5 option, in my opinion, at tight end this week. Happy Turkey Day. Sam, wide receivers. Let me read through this. Should I add Thielen instead, plus Dak for Josh Allen? Trade DK and Dak for Josh Allen. Very interesting there. I don't think I'd do that. I really think Dak Prescott's going to win fantasy leagues. I think Dak might even rank better than Josh Allen. It's close rest of the season. Let me compare these two this week. And Josh Allen is projected better this week. The Cowboys get a matchup with the Eagles week 14, the Bills, the Dolphins, the Lions. I mean, Dak Prescott, I think, is going to win leagues. Josh Allen has a good schedule down the stretch here too. But yeah, also you got to give up DK Metcalf there. I don't think I like this trade. I do think adding Thielen is worse for you. I would prefer Thielen over DK rest of the season right now. Yeah, Josh Allen has a pretty elite schedule here too. He gets the Chiefs, the Cowboys, the Chargers, and then the Pats in the fantasy playoffs. He's been super consistent. It's a close call. Honestly, I think it's a fine trade. It's a fine trade. I do think it's a small upgrade. I just think Dak also can win leagues with how heavily the Cowboys have been passing. I know you said you like Montgomery TD for the 12:30 game, but do you like any other TD scores in the other 2 games? Yeah, so I don't hate the Charbonnet odds for a touchdown with the usage I expect him to get. McCaffrey is certainly the safest bet for a touchdown in that game, though. And then the other game today between the Commanders and the Cowboys, I want props on Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. Those are the only props I'm touching in the Cowboys-Commanders game. So those guys to score touchdowns. I like Dak Prescott over 1.5, CeeDee Lamb over half. If you're going to play touchdowns in that game. Full PPR, Mostert or Downs. It's Mostert, Tad. It's got to be Mostert. It doesn't seem like Achan's going to play. If Achan plays, though, I would go Downs. Not a Thursday question, though. Charbonnet or Singletary. I'm playing Charbonnet over Singletary easily this week. It's not even close. I got Hockenson on bye. What coding programs did you use for Walter? Well, I'll talk about that in a second. Should I pick up Otten, Likely, or Pitts? I like Otten a little bit more than Likely, but I think I would go Pitts over Otten and Likely. Likely definitely has an intriguing ceiling. Otten has a pretty solid floor with his usage. I actually added Otten over Likely in one of my high-stakes leagues just a couple of days ago. What we use to code Walter? Yeah, so it was originally coded in Python. It's in a bunch of different languages and platforms now. It's really a combination between 3 different machine learning models. Random forest model, a linear regression model, And a neural network model is what combines into one player projection system in the Walter Picks app. It's why we've had the most accurate player projections that exist. It's why we have the best fantasy rankings and the best fantasy tools that you can find in the Walter Picks app. It is a really advanced model, but really what matters more than the model being advanced in the Walter Picks app is the data that's powered on it, very advanced data that the models are powered on with advanced stats that other people just don't have going back 5-10 years. Air yards, target share, route percentage, things that other models just aren't trained on. Plus, it's trained on the player prop lines, and the player prop lines are very valuable and worth looking at for player analysis and player projections. So yeah, the Walter Picks app is a lot of different reasons why the Walter model is the best player projection model that exists, and it's pretty much free in the Walter Picks app. Most of it you can get access for free in the app, in the TikTok bio, in the YouTube description. Also, the best way you can support me is checking that out. Zay or DJ on my flex. No benching DJ Moore. Guys, with Justin Fields back, DJ Moore's averaging over 100 yards per game in games with Justin Fields. And he gets the Vikings this week. He's a top 10 option this week. You got to start DJ Moore for sure over everybody, basically. Good morning, Sam. Happy Thanksgiving from Canada. Thank you, Canadians, for saying happy Thanksgiving. Chase or Olave? Yeah, I think I'd still go Chase over Olave. It's a tough call with Browning starting and Michael Thomas out too does help Olave a bit. But yeah, it's still Jamar Chase, I think, over Chris Olave. Yeah, it's not that close. I would go Chase over Olave. Do I start Herbert or Goff this week? Yeah, Herbert's a sketchy option against the Ravens a bit. Let me pull up the QB ranks here in the app. I think I'd probably go Goff over Herbert. It's close. Yeah, wow, Herbert's at QB 11. Goff's at QB 16 here. Herbert's been better in every single stat. Herbert is QB 3 in points per game this season. He's averaging almost 300 passing yards a game. I think I actually would go Herbert over Goff looking at this a little closer. The matchup's definitely better for Goff, but neither are great matchups quarterback-wise. So I think I'm cool with Herbert over Jared Goff. Shout out to everybody, guys, in this live stream. Seriously thankful, especially thankful today for everybody support and tuning into these lives. Pick 2, Zach Charbonnet, Puka, Christian Kirk, half PPR. It's the first 2. I think Christian Kirk's a solid option, but yeah, it's the first 2. The 2 rookies, Charbonnet and Puka Nacua, is who I would go with there. I'm playing Njoku over Sam Laporta. I'm playing JSN, I think, over Calvin Ridley. Let's see here. I know Ridley's coming off a big game, his best game of the season by far. I'm definitely not all the way bought in on Ridley. He does project actually a bit better than JSN. I would go Ridley over JSN. Looking at this one a little bit closer. JSN has a better matchup tonight against the Commanders. Seahawks, 7-point underdogs. JSN has been more involved of late. Ridley's ceiling is higher. JSN's floor, though, is better. So, yeah, you got to ask yourself, are you going for the ceiling or the floor? I think JSN does have a safer floor in that matchup than Calvin Ridley does in his, but the ceiling probably is a bit higher for Calvin Ridley. Hey, Sam, Goff or Lawrence in a half PPR league? Yeah, so Trevor Lawrence coming off his best game of the season. His first game of the season, over 20 fantasy points. And now he gets a spot this week against the Texans, who have had a lot of shootout games with CJ Stroud on the other side of that matchup. Yeah, I think it's Lawrence over Goff. Better matchup for Lawrence than Goff. The Packers secondary has been good. I don't know if Jair Alexander is going to play today or not. He's missed most of the games, it feels like, this season. And yeah, QB 1 week from Trevor Lawrence last week. I do think Lawrence over Goff makes sense to me. All right, let's get to some more of these starts. Sam, very thankful for your help this season. Start 3, Metcalf, Rachaad White, Tank, Gibbs, PPR. Adrian, thankful for you as well. You got to go Gibbs here for sure. Rachaad White, an elite option, and then probably Tank over Metcalf. I think you bench DK Metcalf here. You start the last 3. I would play all those guys over DK Metcalf. Happy Turkey Day, Sam. Happy Turkey Day to all of you. We got a great slate of games. We got 15 minutes left in this live stream. We got a great slate of games kicking off in like an hour and 15 minutes. Lions and Packers starting. We got an Achane question here, though. Got to bring us down to earth with the Achane questions. If Achane plays, do you like Javonte over Mostert or Mike Evans in flex? Yeah, I still think I'd go Mostert over Javonte. If Achane plays, I don't think Achane plays a ton. And I don't think he's going to play. So I'm leaning towards Mostert there. And then Mike Evans versus Mostert is close. Definitely closer if Achane plays. But yeah, I still think I'd probably go Mostert in a good matchup against the Jets. Wow, this is a closer projection than I expected. Evans gets a matchup with the Colts. If Achane plays, I might actually lean Mike Evans. But again, I don't think Achane's going to play. So I do think you're going to end up having to start Mostert over Mike Evans. Evans is having a huge, huge season. Swift, Jacobs, Saquon, Rashad White, Charbonnet, pick 3. Yes, you're starting. There's a lot of good running backs. I think you're probably going to start Rashad still here. Yeah, Rashad, wow, he ranks so high. The usage has been great. Good matchup for him too. I think Saquon makes sense next. And then Charbonnet versus Jacobs is really close. I actually do kind of agree with this. I would probably go Charbonnet over Jacobs. The Chiefs defense has been really good. I think I would go Charbonnet over Jacobs. It's close. They're back-to-back in the Walter Picks app rankings. But again, I really like the receiving role we've seen from Charbonnet. We've not seen a receiving role like this for Josh Jacobs, not even close. And this is a PPR league. I assume Charbonnet ran a route on over 80% of passing plays for the Seahawks last week. No Kenneth Walker this week. I think it makes sense. I lost Mark Andrews. Yeah, God, I lost Mark Andrews in 3 of my 7 high-stakes leagues. Absolutely brutal. But we can bounce back for sure. Picked up Thomas. Should I get a different tight end off waivers? And Freiermuth, Jonnu are available. Yeah, one of my leagues I'm rocking with Jonnu and Otten. Definitely, they're 2 of the streaming tight ends that can be found on waivers this season with at least some upside. I think I would play Otten over Logan Thomas. Otten's usage has been good, guys. He's out there every single play. He's seeing targets every single game. I mean, it's not saying that much, but at tight end, it kind of is. I mean, he's still had a few duds this season. 4 games, he's been under 4 fantasy points. So the floor has actually not been great from a fantasy perspective. From a usage perspective, at least you're going to have a body out there every single play for an offense. You can't say the same thing about Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith. And I'll pull up the game logs here for Logan Thomas, and he's definitely had better games than Cade Otton. He is out there running route on most of these dropbacks too. Honestly, I think I'd probably go Logan Thomas over Otton. Looking at this a little bit closer, I think it is Logan Thomas over Otton. I'd probably add Otton though over Jonnu too on the waiver wire. Jonnu's had some big games, but he's definitely not seeing as consistent usage. But at least a ceiling here from Jonnu Smith. Should I trade Gus Edwards? Yeah, I do. I've been anti Gus Edwards all season. He's like, I think RB4 over the last month or something with how many touchdowns he scored. But yeah, I think it's a good time to trade him with just the role he's in on the team he's on. If Achane plays, Achane or Singletary. I don't think Achane's playing. If he plays, this one's tough. I probably would go Achane over Singletary if Achane plays. But again, I don't think he's going to play. And then Josh Downs, McLaurin, Jaden Reed, and Josh Downs again. Yeah, I play Josh Downs over all these guys. I play Josh Downs over McLaurin and definitely over Jaden Reed. I'd play McLaurin over Reed also, but I don't like either of them today. We're starting Charbonnet because Kenneth Walker's out, and Charbonnet ran a route on 80% of the dropbacks for the Seahawks last week. Elite receiving role for Charbonnet. He's actually the free player prop of the day. Zach Charbonnet over 3.5 receptions. This one comes straight from the Walter Picks app. Prop evaluator here. If you're watching live on TikTok, you can find this for free. If you use code SAM in the TikTok bio, download this app. It's the best app for player props, best app for fantasy as well. You can sync your leagues and your sports books to the Walter Picks app to get the best possible insights for fantasy and betting. But Zach Charbonnet usage has been elite receiving role for Charbonnet. There's no Kenneth Walker today, and the Seahawks are 7-point underdogs in this one too against the 49ers. Guys, just last week, Rashad White had 6 receptions against the 49ers. I don't care how many yards he gets. He just needs to get 4 catches. He's done that in each of his last 2 games. And again, the receiving role has been, this is free. The game logs are free in the Walter Picks app. So if you haven't downloaded the app yet, you're at a disadvantage in your fantasy league, in your player prop betting. It's free to look at these advanced stats in the Walter Picks app, in the YouTube description, in the TikTok bio. But guys, Zach Charbonnet, he has 10 catches in the last 2 games. He's running a route on over half the dropbacks for the Seahawks. The Seahawks are going to get crushed in this game. They're 7-point underdogs at home against the 49ers. They're going to have to throw. Charbonnet's going to be a big part of that. He had over 90th percentile target share in college too. Charbonnet is a good receiving back, and he's already shown it this season. And going back to the college days, it just gives me even more confidence in Charbonnet's receiving role being elite today. And that's why I like him as a start in PPR this week too. Hey, Sam, love the Walter Picks app. Just one question. Should I start McLaurin, Flowers, or Addison? Yeah, I think it's between Flowers and Addison. I'd prefer to bench McLaurin against the Cowboys. They have been very good against receivers. I think the floor for McLaurin is really low. Flowers has a good matchup against the Chargers, and Odell might be out, which is actually a pretty big deal with Mark Andrews also out. The target share could start to get consolidated there a bit in Baltimore in a good matchup. Addison's ceiling has been much higher, though, this season. I don't think Justin Jefferson's going to play, but he definitely seems healthy. It's 50-50 Jefferson playing, and that does impact this one a lot. If Jefferson plays, I probably would go Flowers. If Jefferson doesn't play, I think I would go Addison. So we got to wait on that news a bit for this one. Missed question. What's up? Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody in this live stream right now. Zach Charbonnet's role is going to be elite today, guys. Start Zach Charbonnet. Take his reception line over 3.5 receptions as well. Would you trade Waddle, Achane, Godwin, Singletary, and Stroud for Kamara, Purdy, and Devontae Smith? I have Lamar. Yes. If you have Lamar, definitely you're trying to trade away Stroud. Or you're trying to trade away Lamar. I actually think I'd probably take Lamar over Stroud rest of season. I do believe Lamar has an elite schedule down the stretch. You're giving up Achane, Waddle, Godwin, Singletary, and Stroud. You're getting Alvin Kamara and Devontae Smith in return. Yeah, I like this. I think you're getting the best receiver in the trade, and you're getting the best running back in the trade too. And you really don't need Stroud. This is a good trade and potential win-win for both sides here, depending on the other person's team too. If you had to choose between Gibbs over 7.5 rushing yards and receiving yards, or Laporte over 4.5 receptions, yeah, I'd go Gibbs. Sorry, Kyle, I know you're grinding the props. I'd go Gibbs. Gibbs, I still don't think we've seen like the big play from Gibbs yet, where he runs, like rips off like a 60-yard, 80-yard touchdown. And why not on Thanksgiving in a good matchup against the Packers? I do like going with his rushing and reception line too, because that big play could easily come through the receiving game. B-Rob, Ridley, Garrett Wilson, Olave, and trade Ridley for McBride. Trade Ridley for McBride. John, do this now. If that was already sent, you got to accept that trade. You lost Andrews. You need to make moves. If you can get McBride, that is one of the best moves you can make. McBride, David Njoku, another good guy to go after if you lost Andrews. Dalton Kincaid, another good one, who maybe you don't have to pay an elite price for it. Perfect time to be trading away Calvin Ridley off a big game too. I especially if you have guys like Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave on your team. I would play Olave over Garrett Wilson, though, with Tim Boyle starting. And if Antonio Gibson doesn't play, I'm playing Brian Robinson over Garrett Wilson. I'm playing Brian Robinson over Chris Olave. If Antonio Gibson does play, though, I'd probably play Olave over Brian Robinson, especially with Michael Thomas out. So you got to wait and see, is Antonio Gibson going to play or not? It really does impact Brian Robinson a ton because he saw a really elite receiving role with Antonio Gibson out. So big impact for him in PPR. All right, guys, we are live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube. If you're watching live on the TikTok, hit the follow button, hit the like button. We're actually going to go fully live on TikTok. We're going to end the YouTube live. Come to the TikTok live if you're watching live on YouTube at Walter Picks. If you don't, I appreciate you guys so much. I'm thankful for all of you. Time is the most valuable thing we have. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Good luck today, everybody.